Everybody, and welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. And do you hear that? Yeah, neither do I. I have a toggle switch on, but my fan is not running, which means that I had some troubles the other day, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. So basically, this car is loud enough that when you're just sitting there idling or driving and you go to flick the fan on, you don't actually hear the fan. And it's difficult on this car and the other black M3 that we've been building. Build sheets to both cars linked in the description. Basically what ends up happening is that we got the front ends of these out and then we upgrade the radiators and some of the cooling systems. And if you're not sitting at a lot of stoplights, like if you're on the move and driving, your car does not overheat. Now, if you take this to like a normal car and you're driving down the street at 45 miles an hour with your cruise control set and you don't have a fan running, most likely your car will get hot and or overheat. So these right here with all of the stuff gutted out of the front actually do really well at cooling themselves. And after I figured out that I had been overheating, it only happened once, I shut the car off immediately. I got off the road, shut the car off, and then I made sure that we let the car cool down. And then once I started moving again, the temperature dropped. In fact, it dropped all the way down to just under operating temperature. On these cars, your needle being straight up and down is where it needs to be. So I'm gonna diagnose this fan, and I wanna talk about how I've set up the fans on these cars, because it's something that's just kind of in the background. I don't really talk about it too much. I've got it on a toggle switch, like I said earlier, so the variable speed the fan comes with from the factory, that's all gone. So I have another fan, just in case. I had a buddy that had one left over, and I'll talk about why he gave me that one and what I do to put them into our race cars. So here is the fan, and this is the used one that I got from my buddy. Now, most of the time, this little control box right here goes bad, and this is your variable speed. This is what tells the fan what speed to run. So you've got the controls coming into the box. I'm pretty sure you got power, ground, and then I think the purple wire, or whatever color the smaller wire is for you guys. That's what actually tells it to go a certain speed, as far as I can tell. Obviously, I haven't dug into this too much because in a daily driver, I just make sure the fan's running, slip in a new one if it breaks, and then for the race cars, I actually just cut this box off and then just wire straight into these. And that's all I do. And what that means is that my fan is either on or off. If you want to do a 2-speed fan, I think you can get this set up so that you can go high and low. But for some reason on my wife's black car, we weren't able to get that hooked up. And I tried for a while. That's why I do like the fan. I'll do the fan switch up and down. So up being high and then down being low and the middle being off. But for some reason it didn't want to do that. So I'm not going to play with it. I'm just going to hook it back up the same way we had it. So I'll cut this control box off. You can take those screws out and remove that. And then you just have high speed on your fan. Now the other reason why I want to talk real quick about putting an OEM fan back on this is I really like the shrouding on these fans. And this is not a weak fan by any means. You can have your hand 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from the grill and you can feel the fan pulling air into the car. They are very strong on high speed. And the other thing that I like about it is because it's not being like zip tied or whatever those quick connects to the aftermarket fans, means that I can remove this by doing, I do 2 screws at the top and you can just slide it up and out. So if I need to work on the front of the engine at all, I can get at it too very easily. I just undo the wiring, those 2 screws, and slide it up, where that other fan is like zip tied to the back of the radiator and it's hard to get it off. You can mount it on the front, but on my car, I don't actually think I've got room in the front to be able to do something like that. Yeah, I think I could, but it's super tight. It's just not worth going in there to do that. And I don't know. I've heard arguments on both sides, literally both sides of the radiator, which side should you put your fan on the front or put your fan on the back. And I just like putting it where it was. The other thing is the shrouding is nice because it fits exactly where it should be. So if you're building race cars and you have any other friends that have BMWs, tell them to hold on to their fans, because what'll happen is that box will go bad. Your friend who's doing a daily driver or whoever else that this goes bad, then they throw the fan out. But if you cut that off, the motor still works. It's just that controller box. So that's what I've been doing for years and years and years and years. This is the original fan to this car. I'm gonna diagnose it, make sure that it's not my switch. I checked it last night, but it didn't seem like it was the actual toggle switch. I'm gonna check that first. I'm gonna check all my wiring, make sure I've got continuity from the toggle switch panel to here and from the power and the ground and everything like that, that nothing did like shook loose or whatnot. If it truly is just the fan, then I've got one that was about to get thrown into the garbage, and we'll be just modifying that, putting it in the car. So you can see here that these two wires come out and that box has been completely removed. I just zip tie the wires there and then bring them up the side. And then what we'll be doing today is I'll actually be removing them off of this and then installing them on the other fan. That's if this fan's actually bad. I'm gonna go through and check to make sure that this is actually burnt up and then I'm not having like a power supply issue or the toggle switch. You wanna make sure these are thicker wires, because if you run like a 16, 14 gauge, they'll probably melt. I believe these are like 10 gauge, maybe 12 gauge, at the very smallest 12. So preferably 10. So diagnosing this is fairly simple. Basically all I'm gonna do is make sure that I've got continuity, and the continuity tester here is that one with the little sound emblem on it. So I like this one because when you do get continuity, it actually beeps at you. So I'll show you that real quick here. So you hear it beeping, and then it actually shows you the resistance as well. So it's essentially no resistance between those two. So what I did was I checked to make sure that I wasn't getting any resistance between ground and a ground on the car. And then what I went to do was make sure that I was getting continuity between the 12 volt system. And with the switch on, I wasn't getting any 12 volt. And then I went over here to right here where it says 9 volt. You can go there and it will read the voltage. And when I went to go do it, it wasn't showing anything. You see how it doesn't show anything? Well, the toggle switch is off right now, and we'll go over that here in a second. But when you turn the toggle switch on now, all right, so you can see here, now we've got power, and then when we turn the switch off, there you go, the power is gone. So basically what I ended up doing was, because I wasn't getting any continuity, and I wasn't showing any voltage out on this end, that means that my fan wasn't getting anything. Now, before we just slap the fan back in there and go, okay, we're good, and then, you know, the fan doesn't work still, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna slide it back in here. We are gonna turn it on, make sure that the fan does run. But I just wanna show real quick what was going on the inside that was causing this issue. So as with most project cars, the electrical system is kind of crazy. So that relay you're seeing there, I just haven't mounted it, it's all done up. It is actually for my interior lights that we did by Nightlight. You can see them running there. And what I did basically was I wanted to make sure that I could run them with the doors open, or I could actually turn them on when I turn my demon eyes on, but I didn't want them to cross over. So I actually have it on a relay so I can run it both ways. And then back in here, on the left-hand side there, you can see that I just was getting into the fuse by putting a flat male connector on the end of it and then slipping it into the power output there. That comes over to my toggle switch panel, which is the bottom one there. And then you flick that on, and it turns the fan on. Well, that had shaken loose, so that wire was just hanging out in there. So it's a good thing I caught it. It's not a big deal as long as you don't let your engine overheat. So I am still going to test the other fan, but I just wanted to show everybody kind of some more behind the scenes, some things that I thought were just a no biggie, and I've had a lot of questions about, you know, how do I do my cooling and what am I doing with my fans and things like that. So I wanted to make sure I documented this, especially right now where I had to go through the system and do some troubleshooting. Make sure you check all your continuity. Make sure you check your 12 volt source, your switches, things like that. Because if the toggle switch had gone out, it'd have been basically the same boat. If your ground wire had shaken off, it'd have been the same. If your fan motor had failed, again, same thing, same troubleshooting list. We're gonna get this all put back together and test the fan. Well, I'm glad that's all it was. So this is not a difficult fix. Obviously, I just made sure that my wiring is correct. Let's go over and check that other fan real quick. I can do that by just tapping into the wires on it and seeing what it does when we turn it on. If that control box, well, no matter what, I'm gonna remove that control box. But I have been told that that control box doesn't work, but I'm gonna show that even though the control box is dead, we can still use it if you're doing a racing application where you want the fan to be basically on or off, full blast or off. So here is your negative. That'll be your brown. Your positive will be here. Nothing. Okay. All right, so now turn it back off. Now I'm going to go past this box and we're going to try up here. All right, go ahead. Okay, stop. So it does run. It's a little chunky, but I think we can fix that by sort of just doing a quick lube job on it. But as you can see, it did run. So if this goes out, hold on to these. You can send them to me. If your fan goes out and you're going to throw it away, you can just send it over to me. My information will be down in the description below. But yeah, this is what I've been doing. It's not super complicated. This is what's been done on this car and the black car. Thanks everybody so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Build list for both of these cars, this one and the black one, will both be down in the description. I really appreciate everybody so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Bam!